On today's show, the Hawks announced their Summer League roster. A pair of guys from the Hawks are going to the Olympics, and much more, and all of that is coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1759 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Rowland, coming to you on a Friday afternoon here in early July. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app right now, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I also want to encourage you at the top of the podcast to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out on Apple or Spotify or Overcast on the audio side. We're also on YouTube, so go ahead and like this episode as you are watching it. And also please subscribe to that platform as well. It's been very busy. Heading into July 4th, I've actually posted 14 episodes in about 12 days, which I think might be a record of sorts for, I guess, episode frequency in this space. I know the Hawks have been a little bit quiet in the last few days since the blockbuster a week ago now in the DeJounte Murray trade, but a ton of stuff to catch up on in the archive, including a two-part episode I did on Wednesday and Thursday with fan favorite Tyler Jones. It was a fun chat about Dyson Daniels and Risacher and Djurisic, Larry Nance, et cetera, and much, much more to come. I have a ask out to someone to do a little bit of a summer league preview episode, kind of what we're looking for basketball-wise. But today, we're going to be, I would say, kind of a bonus episode structure here, a little bit shorter than usual. But still, summer league stuff, and then we'll touch on the end of the podcast some Olympic adjacent stuff involving the Hawks that was finalized in the last couple of days. But I'm recording this on Friday, July 5th at about 4 p.m. Eastern time. I tend to timestamp this time of year because stuff can happen quickly, even if it has not been happening so far. But the Hawks finally announced their summer league roster, I don't know, 45 minutes ago, 3:15 or so p.m. Eastern time. We knew some of the stuff already, at least I strongly did, and passed along some of it along the way. Ronald is going to be the summer league head coach, one of the Hawks assistants, and a bunch of Hawks assistants, by the way, will be alongside him on the bench. This is the third time that Norred has been a summer league head coach, was the guy for the Pacers in 22 and the Hornets in 2019. No surprises, though, really on the roster. It is heavy on guys with organizational ties to Atlanta. Of course, the headliners are as expected. There are four guys in the current roster mix who are on the Summer League roster. Number one overall pick, Zaccharie Risacher, Kobe Bufkin, and Mo Gueye from last year's draft. And then, of course, the number 44 overall pick, actually 43 overall pick this year, Nikola Djurisic. Those four guys are on the team in Las Vegas. Obviously, Risacher will get the lion's share of attention as the number one pick across the league even. But obviously, I think Bufkin and Gueye have a lot of appeal, and then Djurisic is someone that I like as well. So plenty to watch on those. I always tell this story, but it's been 10, 12 years since I've started going to Vegas every year. The first time I ever went to Las Vegas to cover the Hawks, the only guy on the Hawks roster that was there was Mike Muscala, the only guy. And ever since then, it's been a little bit more entertaining, but at least four really interesting guys on this Hawks roster and plenty to watch and then break down. Plus, they're taking Dylan Windler and Miles Norris on the team, both of whom have been on two ways for the Hawks within the last year and a half. Last year, Windler ended the season on two-way. Norris was the guy who started on two-way last year, and that was in College Park for most of the rest of the campaign. 8 of the 13 guys on the Hawks Summer League roster have appeared in College Park within the last year. That includes guys like Keaton Wallace and Rob Baker and Jarkel Joyner. Of course, that also includes Bufkin and Gueye, who played in the G League a little bit last year as well. When you do the math, basically, the two rookies, Risacher and Djurisic, couldn't have possibly played in College Park last year. So put them to the side. 8 of the other 11 guys on the roster played in College Park a year ago. So obviously, they're taking guys who are familiar to them, who they're interested in, who know the system, and kind of trying to surround the guys who they're trying to really develop with the organizational players along the way. One interesting note on Zaccharie Risacher. As a rule, I would not take the height and weight listings for Summer League as gospel by any means, but Risacher is a prime example of that. He weighed in at the combine at 194 point something pounds, so 195 basically. That was only a few weeks ago, and now he's listed on the Hawks roster at 215 pounds. So one of those is wrong, almost certainly. I can't imagine he put on 20 pounds in less than a month. That does not seem plausible to me as far as positive weight is concerned. So I trust the combine measurement more. I kind of doubt he put on that much weight. I know obviously they're going to want him to put on weight in the future, but I kind of found that one funny looking at the roster. Also got some questions about EJ Liddell And of course, he's been reported to be, and I've had this confirmed to me too, that he's going to be in a trade for DeJounte Murray, which cannot be, again, finalized until at least Saturday, July 6th. So I'm recording this on the 5th. The moratorium ends at noon Eastern on Saturday. At that point, the Hawks would then be allowed to announce the Murray trade. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but it cannot be before Saturday afternoon. And Liddell conceivably could be on the roster for the Hawks, but he could not have been today because, again, he's still on the Pelicans at this moment. The Hawks also, I would say they always do this, but they made the Summer League roster, quote, subject to change on the announcement. It's always that way. It's not like typical NBA rules where you can't change the roster at the last minute. Guys can get added in the middle of the week. Guys can change rosters in the middle of the week. That's happened before at Summer League. It's kind of the wild, wild west. So this roster is the planned roster for Atlanta, but it could change. There could be new guys. Could be Liddell. I would say this. Liddell, post-trade, could pop up in Vegas on the Hawks Summer League roster. That would not be a surprise at all. He's been in the league for 2 years, former Ohio State standout, etc. But it also wouldn't be overly strange if he didn't. So it's kind of like, I know people want to know either way what the plan is for Liddell. And I'll raise my hand. I said this before on the show in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if the Hawks are interested in Liddell or if he's just pure salary matching. But no matter what, he's going to be on the roster at some point, and maybe he'll be rerouted. But he could be on the Hawks Summer League roster. That could happen. But they could not have announced that today. And we'll learn more in the coming days on that. The Hawks will not travel to Vegas for a few more days. They don't open for a week from today. So some shuffling could still happen, but a lot of teams are announced their rosters already. The Hawks do that on Friday, and we'll keep an eye on Liddell in the near future. All right, I will have more coming up on this when it comes to the non-roster guys, a note about the Olympics and more. But first, a word from our partners on today's podcast. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors, and passion, drive, and patience are the formula of winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. At eBay Motors, they have everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and also to level it up to its peak performance. They have everything you are looking for with regard to your vehicle. That includes roof racks, that includes superchargers, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much, much more. Whether you're into speed, into power, or into style, they have you covered across the board at eBay Motors. They have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, and you will always find what you're looking for exactly with eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you also have that part be guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money's coming back to you, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, but you are crucially not burning cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you're looking for, it is easy to turn that car that you have into the MVP that you're looking for, and that win is really within your grasp with eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive right now at ebaymotors.com. One more time, the place to go is ebaymotors.com. eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, so we covered the guys who are going to be the headliners in Las Vegas for the Hawks, and even a potential guy in Liddell who might pop up. From there are some non-roster invitees. There always are on these teams. Like, nobody has enough players to fill out with only roster guys in Las Vegas. Dylan Windler is the most high profile of the non-roster guys. He'll be 28 in September, but he's an NBA-level player, and they liked him enough last year to know that he was actually going to be playing Summer League a few weeks ago. That was already publicly announced by Landry to the media, like I think in maybe May or June. Crucially, though, Dylan Windler is not eligible for a two-way contract. So it has to be a real contract. Basically, the reason why is because he has too many years of service in the NBA to sign a two-way. That's one of the rules around two-ways. It would not stun me if Windler was on a minimum for the Hawks this year. At the same time, that's the only way he can be on the team. So two-ways off the table for him. He's older than you would want for a two-way guy anyway, but Windler's an NBA caliber player. Obviously, he's limited, but a really good rebounder, talented guy. He can shoot it. And the Hawks obviously like him, so keep an eye on him for sure. They do like Miles Norris. He was also clearly the last guy on the roster last year when they waived him midseason on his two-way. He did those stick around College Park, and he's probably the best of the non-roster guys outside of Windler. He's a 6'10 guy who can shoot it a little bit. He's 24 years old, and the Hawks do like Miles Norris. As a reminder, by the way, Atlanta's two-ways are completely empty right now. There are 3 spots available. And yes, they've offered the two-way qualifying offers to Seth Lundy and Vit Krejci. I think Seth might be on a two-way. He is hurt right now. Just as a note there, Seth Lundy is not playing because of ankle surgery. I know I talked about that a lot already on the podcast, but he had ankle surgery. He was ruled out probably like 2 months ago from playing Summer League, so that kind of got forgotten, but that's why he's not there, just as a note right now. But Lundy might be on a two-way. Even if he is, though, on a two-way, they have 2 more spots available. I think that Vit's going to be on a regular contract, if I had to guess right now, so there could be an opportunity for somebody to impress them either on the Hawks roster or another roster. Oftentimes, teams will sign two-ways off of other teams at Summer League. It's a good showcase for not just the team that you're playing for, let's just say. Also, Norris could be there in the mix. They like him. He was already on a 2-way contract for the Hawks, etc. I would say the biggest, most notable name as far as the guys who were not in College Park last year is Moses Wood from Washington. I heard some names that were out there, but he was the only guy that got publicly reported to be on the Hawks Summer League team before it came out, other than the roster guys. He played at Tulane, UNLV, Portland, and Washington in college, 4 different places. So he's already 25 years old, but he's a real shooter at 6'8". And that's something the Hawks continue to target is big shooters. Miles Norris, big shooter, for instance. Rob Baker, who played in College Park last year on the Summer League team, 6'10" shooter. Moses Wood, big shooter. So doesn't mean they're going to be huge prospects, but they do like that archetype. And if you're a shooter at 6'8", you might be able to stick around if you can figure it out the rest of the stuff. Also of note on the roster, they only have one true center listed on the roster out of 13 guys. That's Nick Ongenta, or Ongenda, I think, from DePaul. He played in Canada last year. I've never been a huge prospect guy that I have seen, but he could be in the mix just as the only center. They do have Mo Gueye, obviously a center size. They have Miles Norris. They have Rob Baker, all of whom are 6'10" or so. So it'll be not like small ball for the Hawks, but they're not going to be playing through the post, I don't think, a lot. People have already asked me who's going to start. I don't know the answer to that. I will say that right now, nor does it really matter that much. But there are 4 guys on the roster can and likely will, if I had to guess right now, start together, and that's Bufkin, Djurisic, Risacher, and Gueye. If they're all playing, they're all going to play a lot, you would imagine. I'll just say this now. It should surprise no one if any of the top guys stop playing at some point during the week. The Hawks are going to play at least 5 games in Las Vegas. It will surprise me a little if Risacher plays all 5, for instance. Same with Mo Gueye. Same with Kobe Bufkin. I might be wrong. Maybe there'll be an organizational shift, but in recent years, the top guys have not played the entire way through, which is very normal. Keep that in mind for moving forward. But game 1 on Friday against Washington, I would expect to see Kobe, Djurisic, Risacher, and Gueye a lot. The best player they have as their 5th guy would be Windler. He'd be my guess there. That obviously would put Mo Gueye at center, kind of, although he's more of a forward, and the Hawks list him as forward just by his center size. But he obviously plays center in Summer League. Could be Norris, could be Baker. We'll see. I would just say that there are pretty much 4 guys that matter a ton. And then the next tier down is Norris, Windler, maybe Baker. I like Heaton Wallace still, et cetera, et cetera. All right, that's all I have on Summer League. I hope to have a guest on in the near future to talk a little bit about what we're looking for, basketball-wise, particularly with the actual big-time prospects, what to watch for. And then I'll have full coverage from Las Vegas as I'm flying out there before Summer League begins on Friday. And again, I looked at the schedule already at some point, but we'll do it again later. But the big headliner is a week from today. The opener is Friday. Risacher versus Alex Sarr and the Wizards, ESPN, national TV. That'll be very much promoted, I would say, in the coming days. Last thing before we get out of here on a shortened podcast is that the Hawks are officially going to have 2 players playing in the Olympics in a few weeks in Paris. And one of them is a new addition, Dyson Daniels. So Daniels is going to be on the Australia roster. He is Australian, if you didn't know that already. They have 8 NBA guys on their team already. That includes Patty Mills, old friend, another old friend, Jock Landale, Matthew Dellavedova, Dante Exum, Josh Giddey, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Josh Green, Joe Ingles. And he'll be on that team. He actually played a couple times this week for Australia. Not in a huge role, but he is playing in the rotation on a regular basis. He's 21 years old, by the way, as a reminder there. He'll be 22 in March. So most of this next year will be age 21 season for Daniels. He played 12 minutes on Tuesday, hit a 3, had 2 assists. He played 19 minutes on Thursday, hit 2 threes, had 4 steals, showing off his defense. I talked with Tyler a lot on a show recently about Daniels' defense. That's very much in play. And just a chance for Hawks fans to watch him a little bit more. I'll always stress that international basketball is much different, but he's playing a role in Australia that's kind of be somewhat similar. He's not like the main guy. A lot of times NBA players are like the main guy on their international team. Daniels is not. It's actually a little bit more translatable than most of the guys would be, and certainly a chance for Hawks fans to watch him in real live basketball over the next month and a half. And then there could be more trades or whatever else, but the only other guy projected to be on a Olympic roster that's on the Hawks right now is Bogey. Bogey's playing for Serbia. Bruno was trying to qualify with Angola. They fell short this week, so he's actually the first Angolan player ever to play in the NBA, and he's like the guy on that team. They didn't make it, unfortunately, for him. But Bogey will be around. I know there's some trepidation from Hawks fans about Bogey playing extra basketball in the summer, but obviously it's the Olympics. Everyone's going to play that can play. Bogey finished the season healthy, so he's going to be out there knock on wood about his health and stuff like that. But Bogey is obviously a huge draw and one of their main players. So keep an eye on that as well. But I'm not going to do like full Olympic recaps, but I'm sure at some point I will go through what Bogey and Daniels had to do in the Olympics. I'll be watching for sure because I think I like watching basketball. So there you go. All right. A little bit shorter on today's podcast, as I said at the top, but it's kind of an extra show. I've been doing lots and lots and lots of episodes and nothing else has happened so far. So the plan is over the weekend, if something happens, I will break into emergency fashion when it comes to, a Krejci deal or a Sadiq Bey deal or a trade. If they just announce the Murray trade, that's not going to be its own podcast because that's going to be expected, but that could happen as soon as Saturday. Just stay tuned. I will have ongoing coverage throughout. I'll do a show or two from Vegas before the Hawks actually play on Friday. As I mentioned, I'm going to do a little bit more of a summer league preview kind of podcast when it comes to the top guys in the near future. So stay tuned. Please subscribe to this podcast. If you are an audio listener, check us out on Apple or Spotify or Overcast, where we should be anywhere that you find podcasts. Please leave 5-star ratings and reviews on those platforms as well. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and like this episode. That'd be huge to help us spread the word. And also please subscribe to the show via that platform. And if you're just trying to support us, doing it on audio and video is probably the best possible way to do that, plus supporting our sponsors and telling your friends about the podcast. So if you know a Hawks fan friend or family member in your life, share the show with them. That'd be huge to help me to spread the word. It's already been a huge response this summer. I'm very much grateful for all of that and some bigger numbers when it comes to offseason stuff. But let's keep it going. Let's just say that. Follow the show on Twitter/X at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there as well at BT Rowland. If you want to read my musings in written form, a lot of time with some bonus audio as well from press conferences, etc. You can do that at patreon.com/BT Rowland. And all right, we'll sign off now. It is Friday at 4:15. Keep in mind for a timestamp. If anything happens, I'll have more content over the weekend. And if not, we'll see you next week. And I really appreciate you listening. We'll see you all next time.